Kathy Cantanzariti. I'm the Planning Director for the City of Mentor. And we are just grateful to have you here to hear a little bit about our comprehensive plan update process. We started this earlier in the year, and we actually had a public meeting in late April to just introduce the process. The thing about a comprehensive plan, it's meant to really try and involve the public and get some input and feedback. We actually have a website that we'll talk to you about. Is on the city website. There's a page in particular that you can go to and get updates and more detailed information about what we're doing and what we're studying. But we have, the city has hired our consulting firm, Stantic Group, and we have Erin Perdue here. She's our project manager on the project, and also her colleague Zoe is here. They're going to kind of talk about the process, what we're going to do here while we're here this evening. Again, we are just very happy to see some folks here that have come out and just kind of hear what it's all about. So this is pretty open, pretty laid back. We encourage people to ask questions, but I'm going to let Erin take it from here, and thank you for being here.
Thanks, Kathy. It is so nice to be here with you tonight on this beautiful evening. So sorry you're spending a little time indoors with us here, but we'll try and make it worth your while. As Kathy mentioned, my name is Erin. I work for Stantec. I am an urban planner, and so I do these kinds of planning projects and help cities envision what they want their future to be and help give you the tools to get there. Like she said, Zoe and I are here tonight to I'm going to give you a presentation to just give you a little bit of context about where we've been with this project, what we've heard so far, and then I'll go over what we're going to be asking of you tonight. So mostly this is going to be you all visiting the stations around the room and talking with us about your ideas and your feedback, and less about us talking, more about you talking to us. So here we go. So an informal agenda. I'm going to give you an update, as I mentioned, on the process, tell you some of what we heard at our last meeting that Kathy was mentioning we had in late April. Tonight we have done some analysis of your land use in town and made some suggestions about how you might move forward and encourage the types of growth that that would fit in with the community. And then we'll open it up for the workshop. So you will get up, you'll move around the room, you'll speak with us, and I'll also tell you what our next steps are after tonight. So let's start with some background information. We are in the middle of this comprehensive land use update process. We've done some discovery, meaning that we looked at the existing conditions in the city so we could get a good picture of where you are now. We did some visioning starting back at that April meeting where we asked people what they would like to see for the future of Mentor. So we developed a vision and a set of guiding values, which we actually have back there, and we'd like to get your feedback on tonight. And we are right where that blue arrow is. We are starting to wrap up our analysis phase. So what we did, as we're thinking about future land use, we wanted to look at what the development trends have been in the city. We looked at market analysis also, so we can kind of figure out what things are in demand in this area. And then based on that, we have some initial preliminary recommendations for what land use policy should look like in the future. And that's what we're asking for your input on tonight. So I'll explain how we're asking those questions and what those policies look like here in a minute. You'll notice that at the end of the process is the plan document, where we actually sit down and write the land use update to your comprehensive plan. We have not done that yet, so we're not here tonight to present you with your new comprehensive plan. We are still here hoping to hear from you, because really our main job is to understand what you all want for your community and then give you the tools in order to get there. So we have not written the plan yet. We are working towards it. And just to give you some background, when you walked in and you signed in, there's a board back there that explains what a comprehensive plan is, but I'll just give you the 1-minute Reader's Digest version of that. A comprehensive plan is really sets out a vision for what you want your community to be in about a 20-year horizon is what we're looking at. So 20 years from now, what would you like Mentor to look like? What things are important to preserve here? What things might you want to see changed? And then, again, give you that policy direction so that you can actually see the change that you want in your community. So that is what the comprehensive plan is meant to do. It covers a lot of different topics. For this update, we're really focusing on land use and growth and change and what might happen in the future. So that's really going to be our focus here tonight. All right, so what we've heard so far. We did that meeting back in April where it was right in this spot where we brought people in and we asked them to give us all sorts of information about how they see Mentor in the future. We had that in-person workshop. We also did put those same questions online. We had over 700 responses. So we then took all of that information and created some of the things that you'll see here tonight. So what did we hear? One of the things we asked people to do was to write down their 6-word story for Mentor. And that means, take 6 words and describe how you envision Mentor to be in the future. And this really helps us understand what's important to you, what your priorities are. And it's a little bit of an exercise that we make you think concisely about things that you want to see in the future. So some of the main themes of what people told us were that they really feel the sense of community here in Mentor and they want that to continue. Green space, parks, recreation are very important. I think it's pretty fitting that we're here tonight in this setting. Really one of your biggest assets that people identify is your green space. Feeling of safety. I think safety means a lot of things to a lot of different people depending on the context. In planning, we're thinking about obviously crime is something that impacts safety, but also things like safety while you're walking, while you're biking, while you're driving, however you get around town, do you feel safe doing that? Quality education is important. Blending old and new. This was a theme that came through these 6-word stories. So you have some historic assets here, but you're also looking for new things to happen. And how can you watch the new things happen or guide that while also preserving what's important about your history? That's something that we heard loud and clear. Walkable retail, so having places to shop, eat, do things that are walkable that maybe you could, even if you have to drive there, you could park your car once and walk around and do several things. That's something that people would like to see more of in the future. And more housing options. So as our demographics change, our housing needs change too. So as you age, folks may want to downsize. As your kids grow up, they may be looking for places to live in the community. And so as things change, we need to make sure that there are housing options for everyone. And that's something that we heard from you also. We also asked folks, if you were here last time in May, you'll remember these questions. But we asked people to tell us about what they love about Mentor, what they'd like to see more of, and maybe what they'd like to see less of. Because there's always some of that, right? So I guess I'll start with the less. Folks wanted to see less traffic, less congestion, fast vehicles or vehicles speeding. That was something that was mentioned a lot. Vacant commercial properties was also mentioned as something that we need to pay attention to. So we need to be thinking about how we can get those buildings reoccupied, get new businesses in them. Less big box stores and less overdevelopment. I think that ties to the desire to preserve some of these green spaces, natural beauty. So when we look at things that people love and people want more of, you'll see some of the same types of things that we saw with the 6-word story. So again, natural beauty, parks and trails, strong infrastructure, so folks appreciate the public services that they get in Mentor, quality schools, amenities like libraries, low taxes, small businesses, so people pointed out specifically that they like some of the small businesses here and would like to see more of them, and welcoming neighborhoods. You have those here in spades, and how can we continue to preserve that welcoming feel of Mentor as things evolve in the future. Again, a focus on safety, so how can we be more safe in all kinds of environments in the city? More restaurants, more walkable retail options. Again, affordable housing came up specifically for thinking about things that seniors need, but also things that younger adults and young families need. As development happens, being intentional about it and make sure that we're preserving green space along with new development. And again, redevelopment of vacant or underused properties. So again, kind of looking at where there are spaces that could be doing more, how can we encourage development of those areas? So the last thing we asked folks were, what are your priorities for implementation? You'll see in the picture there's buckets there with Mentor bucks. And we gave folks some dollars and asked, if you were on city council doing the budget, where would you spend your money? And so the top priorities that people indicated were biking and walking trails, using city resources to support small businesses and entrepreneurs. So again, kind of how can we get some of those businesses that we like into some of these vacant spaces that we have in town? Creating a destination retail area, or again, how to activate vacant storefronts, improving Mentor Avenue, and increasing workforce housing. And when we say workforce housing, we mean just housing that people who work here can afford to live in. So this gives you some idea of things that people have told us up to this point. So what did we do with all of this information? We drafted a vision and some guiding principles. This is, again, on the board in the back, so you can spend some time thinking about it, but I very rarely read off my slides, but I'm gonna read this to you because I think it's important. The vision statement that we drafted based on what we heard reads something like this. Mentor is a connected and sustainable lakefront community that values its public spaces and recreation areas while investing in sustainable growth. We strive for cohesive and accessible neighborhoods with housing for all types of families, vibrant community spaces, and a strong local culture rooted in nature, arts, and educational and economic opportunity. So that's, again, draft vision statement. It's important that this reflects the things that you want to see in your community in the future. And so we want you to spend a little time reading this. If you have suggestions or things that you think we've missed, we want to hear that. To support this vision statement, we also have a set of guiding values. I will not read all of these to you because, again, they are back there on the board. We would like you to read and think about these. But the guiding values really revolve around preserving your natural assets, fostering accessible communities, developing attainable and diverse housing options, and supporting local businesses and revitalization. So those values are meant to support the vision, and as we develop land use policies, those policies are supposed to help you move towards those guiding values. So that was a lot of information about what we have heard so far and kind of what we did with this information. As I mentioned, tonight we're going to focus on land use, and so how is the land used in Mentor and how do we want it to be used in the future? And so I'm going to share with you some pieces of the analysis that we have done to support the questions that we're going to be asking of you tonight. So there's going to be a lot of maps and information on these slides. If you are interested in reading more about any of these topics, the full land use analysis report is available on the website. We have the website and the QR codes several places in the room, so you can read the full report there if you'd like to see it. So first we looked at existing land use, right? So what does the land use pattern look like in Mentor right now? The colors are all up here on the screen. I could leave this on the screen after we're done with the presentation if you want to take a look at it. But basically, you can see that you've got this gray area through the center of town. That is your industrial area. So most of your industry is located in that center swath. There is some vacant and underutilized property in that area, so there's potential for some new development and redevelopment or infill in that central area, so we want to give that some thought. The commercial areas are the ones that are shown in like that bright pink color on the map. So you can kind of see that your commercial development follows your major roadway corridors. Mentor Avenue, for example, is the main one, but there's also clusters of commercial development near your highway interchanges and in the Great Lakes Mall area. So your commercial is kind of clustered together. Parks are in green, and you can see that there are parks and open spaces really scattered throughout the city. And the yellow and orange shades are your residential development, and that's most of your neighborhoods are north of the Lakeland Freeway and south of Mentor Avenue, south of State Route 2. But there is some multifamily also clustered around, and the multifamily is in the orange colors. So this gives us a little bit of context for what's going on with land use in the city right now. As I mentioned, we also did a look at market trends in the city. So we looked at trends in office development, in retail, and also in industrial. And so the map and the chart you see there are just samples of some of the data that we gathered. We wanted to look at where developments in these sectors are located, when were they built, what are the trends in things like rents and vacancy rates. This gives us some idea of whether things are in demand or whether they're on the decline. So all of these trends helped inform the land use policy suggestions that we've made. And then finally, we looked at the types of permits and land use applications that the city gets, because we want to know what kinds of things are people trying to do in the city. One of the things we looked at were conditional use permits. And for those of you that aren't familiar, a conditional use permit is when someone wants to do a development that is allowed in the city, but it needs a little extra step of review because there might be impacts to the neighbors of that type of development. And so we looked at the trends in those kinds of applications, and we noticed that most of your conditional use permit applications are within the commercial or industrial areas, and most of them were for auto-dependent uses. So there's a whole wide range of things, drive-throughs and businesses like that are generally auto-dependent. But there were a lot also asking for recreational uses, and daycares was another one. Daycares in a lot of areas require a conditional use permit, and so there was some interest in developing more of those. And so this helps inform some of our recommendations, and a sample of the recommendations that we would make based on that information are that, maybe there should be more uses allowed by right, so without having to go through that conditional use permit process in some of those commercial areas like Mentor Avenue and near the Great Lakes Mall. And there are some changes that you could probably make to your codes and ordinances that would facilitate reuse of underutilized properties. So we looked at conditional use permits. We also looked at variances and rezoning requests and all of those kinds of things, just to give us some idea of what people are looking to do in Menor. Okay, so this gives all of these things give us hints about what's working and what's not working with your current plans and your current ordinances. And so the other thing that we are going to ask you about tonight are some development prototypes that we created based on these kinds of applications, looking at what available property there is in the city that might be developed or redeveloped. So we wanted to give you some ideas of what's possible and what kinds of policies need to go along with this kind of development, if this is the type that you want. So we have at the other 3 stations in the back of the room, we have more information about each of these development prototypes that I'm going to show you. We want you to take a look at them. They are all hypothetical sites, so they're not located on any particular parcel in the city, but they are representative of the types of vacant areas that we see in Menor, and so there are areas where these things could be applied. So just remember that it's not any specific property that we're looking at here. So I'm going to describe those 3 prototypes, and then I'm going to tell you what we want to hear from you tonight. Okay, so actually, I'm just going to summarize these. So this is an example of one of the development prototypes. What we are trying to do with each one of these is to address the gaps that were identified in our market analysis. You all had a housing analysis that was done a couple of years ago that our firm did for you that identified some gaps in your housing market also. Again, they're based on hypothetical sites that can generally be found in Menor. And what we're trying to do is show you a mix of land uses, how roads might be laid out, where parking and open space might be located, and some of the design features that would go along with development of sites like these. And each of these is accompanied by land use policies. And this is really where it's important for us to hear from you as to whether we are on the right track with suggesting land use policies or whether there are other things that we need to think about. So here is what we're going to do around the room. As I mentioned, we have 3 of these for you to look at, ask questions. My colleagues and I will be standing back there so we can talk to you about these development prototypes. Each one is accompanied by a little snapshot of the market information that we collected and some suggested land use policies. And so what we want you to do is think about, can you see these types of development happening in Menor? If not, why not? If so, how do you think we can get there? We've made some suggestions. Are there other market forces at work that we should consider? Or are there other policies that we should consider? So we want to hear all of that from you tonight. So at each station, there are markers and sticky notes. You can write down your thoughts and stick them up on the boards. We'll also be there to help write down what we hear you talking about. So if we hear you talking and you're not writing, we will write for you and stick it up there because we really want to capture your ideas. That's the whole point of us being here tonight. At the board where we have the vision and guiding values, there are actually some sticky dots where you can vote on the guiding values. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Are you somewhere in the middle? And are there things that you'd like to suggest that perhaps we've missed, or if we've gotten something wrong, we want to know that too. So I'm going to release you to do that in just a second. I'll tell you what we're going to do after this. So we are here on October 1st, public workshop. We have all of this information posted on the comprehensive plan website also, so people who couldn't be here tonight can also answer these same questions online. So that's going on in parallel with this meeting. Once we hear back from all of you, just like we did last time, we're going to compile all of the results, and that's going to help us actually draft the land use plan update. So the next time you hear from us, probably, I don't know when it will be, probably after the holidays, you'll see the results of what you told us and our next draft. So you'll have more to take a look at there. So I will be out ready to answer your questions. And I really appreciate you all coming out. So thank you.